Good evening again to everyone. Thank you so much again for coming out tonight to celebrate life. Tonight is like a shareholders meeting. Not that I know what a shareholders meeting looks like, I've never been to one, but it's what I imagine a shareholders meeting to be like. Everyone getting together and talk about the organization, where we've been this year, and more importantly, where we are going. And so I'm very excited to have each and every one of you here. Thank you to all of you who have already purchased stock in the PRC. I hope tonight you'll see the dividends of your investment. We are so grateful you're here. We are most grateful to our underwriters. Because of their generosity, every gift given and pledged tonight will go directly to ministry programs. At the platinum level, our featured underwriter is Highlands Residential Mortgage. A special thank you to Ken and Kim Hickman. At the gold level, we have Lauren and Mary Lichty, Macedonia Baptist Church, and the Rivetta Home Team. Your trust in the vision of the PRC and protecting the lives of the unborn is invaluable, so we thank you. My name is Joanne Vukovic, and I've been blessed to serve at the PRC since we first opened in 2000 in Rockwall, and we opened our Mesquite location in 2008, offering help and hope to women facing unplanned pregnancies. In 2015, we purchased a home on Ridge Road in Rockwall in 900 square feet. Our entire administrative team has functioned in 200 square feet after we converted the garage. And while we've grown very close in that space, super close, we're very excited to announce that this past Tuesday, this very week, Planning and Zoning in Rockwall approved the complete tear down and remodel of our location on Ridge Road. Yes, please clap for that. We're going to double our footprint in Rockwall and be better equipped to serve women that walk through our doors, so thank you. In this new space, we'll continue offering free pregnancy tests, Medicaid confirmations, nurse consultations, sonograms, and educational classes. Through our Bright Course program, clients come in and attend classes. At these classes, they earn points that can be spent to purchase items such as cribs, car seats, diapers, anything that they might need for pregnancy. And thanks to your generosity, all of these items are purchased brand new. So thank you. It's a game changer for us. Our goal at the Pregnancy Center is to offer hope. And as we all know in this room, the only source of hope is Jesus Christ. And we share the gospel with every single girl that walks through our doors. Since opening in 2000, we have seen 839 clients make a decision for Christ within our walls. Please clap for that. We see approximately 1,400 girls per year that come from a variety of different cities you can see on the screen listed here. These are just some of the cities that we have served, the top, I think that however many are up there, I don't know, the top cities that we have served. I just love how far-reaching our impact is. So far this year, we have seen 1,354 new clients that have returned for a total of 3,454 visits. Those follow-up visits can be sonograms, classes, follow-up counseling, maybe a meeting with an adoption agency. We're very busy between both of our locations, and so 3,454 visits. And while we don't refer for abortion or perform abortions, obviously, we are a safe, non-judgmental space for women to come in and talk about their options. Since opening our doors, we have had 2,116 women that came in and listed abortion as their first choice, changed their minds after receiving our free services. Yes, you can clap for that. And when we hit that number, the 2,000 number, we had this puzzle made, which you can see, here on the stage and on the screen. This puzzle has 2,000 pieces. Each piece represents a baby saved. The puzzle also has pictures of actual babies. So these are the girls. We remain in touch with our clients. These are actual pictures of our babies saved, and they're not babies anymore. Many of them have graduated college. Desi got her driver's license last year, and the little girl in pigtails, Anna, celebrated her quinceañera this year. Every one of these pictures is a story. And these stories could not be told without friends like you, so thank you. We truly are better together, which became our theme this year and actually inspired the puzzle. On your table, we have a small takeaway for you. It's a picture frame that's made up of 2 pieces. Each piece by itself is nothing, but when we put it together, it makes a 2-sided frame. And in that frame, we have a picture of a PRC saved baby. So you feel free to take that home with you. On the other side of the picture, we have a Bob Goff quote, and we are so excited to have Bob here with us tonight. We couldn't think of anyone better to inspire us all with Better Together. In his quote, yeah, let's clap for that. The quote says, "I used to be afraid of failing at something that mattered to me, but now I am more afraid of succeeding at something that doesn't matter. And I want to assure you all that what you are here tonight for matters." Our theme, Better Together, was evident this year when over 500 people came out to walk in our Walk for Life. The walk is held Mother's Day weekend, Friday night at Harry Myers Park, Saturday morning at City Lake Park in Mesquite, and it funds 20% of our budget. We had 56 people representing 26 churches inducted into the Lifesavers Club, which is set aside for those that raise $1,200 or more. Our youngest lifesavers were Claire Bates and Rowan Barron, who have a lemonade stand every year, and they raise thousands of dollars. Our oldest walker, and she does not mind me sharing, although she's not here tonight, is Priscilla Heek. She turned 91 this year, so you guys have no excuse for not walking with us. No excuse. We celebrated with hibachi, because that is something that is definitely better together. Our top walkers are listed on the screen as well as the top teams, and if you don't see your team listed here, you guys come out next year. The walk is a highly anticipated event. In Rockwall, we have food trucks, door prizes, and live music, so there's no reason to not come. In Mesquite, we're growing, so y'all come on out to Rockwall or Mesquite this year. Supporting life in our circles and in the community matters. And it's because of people like you that we celebrated in 2022 when Roe versus Wade was overturned. This landmark decision returned the right to the states to determine the legality of abortion. And while abortion is illegal in Texas, it can still be done medically with the abortion pills, which can be ordered online. These pills are prescribed to women who are 10 weeks gestation, and this is the route. No matter whether it's legal or not, this would always be the route, the abortion pill. And I'd like to take a minute to update you on the current laws across the states, because what's happening nationwide affects our Texas women. The dark green states, including Texas, have no abortion except to save the life of the mother. Blue is abortion up to 6 weeks. Orange is up to 18 weeks. Yellow is abortion up to 22. Purple is abortion up to 26 weeks, which, by the way, is viability. So if a baby is born at that state, a wanted baby, then the doctors in the hospital have to do everything they can to save the life of the baby. Red states are abortion up to birth. While this map changes constantly, it's been updated this week after the elections, PRC's mission remains steadfast. And our mission is unchanged: to equip women facing unplanned pregnancies to choose life. Do we always succeed at our mission? No, we don't. We see many women that choose abortion for a myriad of reasons. No matter the decision our clients make, PRC is there for them. We see clients that have traveled out of state for an abortion, yet get back and want to know, is everything okay? And how is everything looking? And I want you to know that we see those girls. Our clinic director, Christy Helmer, goes above and beyond to walk with our clients, as does our entire staff and volunteers. Every client that we see is given an exit survey when she leaves our clinic, asking her about her experience with us. I look back at some of our clients that chose abortion this year, and I just want you to hear in their voices what they said about their experience with the pregnancy center. It was very comforting. I felt very listened to. They really are thoughtful and caring. They feel very welcoming. My favorite was a client we'll call A from Dallas. She said, a great listener, provided knowledge I need and TLC I didn't realize I needed. Thanks for everything. I felt this was a very safe place for me in this new state. I wish I could share all of them, y'all. They tell us we need to have snacks, all kinds of things. all the surveys that were such an encouragement, and I can be 100% honest with you standing here and saying we don't get bad exit surveys. They're always good. One of my favorites we got this year came from a client that chose life. Her name was Logan. This is what she said. They were amazing. Thank y'all. And she put a cute little heart, which I always do the smiley face. If you see my text, it's always a smiley face. She put a cute little heart. It wasn't just medical. They genuinely care about my life. Seeing how far along I am really helped me. Thank y'all so much with another cute little heart. Please pray for me and Connor. We fell in love with Connor and Logan, and I want to share their journey with you. I hope you'll enjoy their story.
When I found out I was pregnant, my coworker suggested the Pregnancy Resource Center in Rockwall. She had a really good friend come here when she needed help one time, and she said it was the best experience ever.
When I found out Logan was pregnant, I was in shock like anybody else, of course. I had so much going through my head, happy, scared. I didn't know what to feel. Abortion does come to mind because it's your first kind of, in my eyes, selfish reason to kind of get your own way as far as you want to get rid of the problem for yourself. I didn't believe in that to begin with. When you put yourself in the shoes, it's a lot easier to kind of lean that way.
I called the pregnancy center and they got me in that day. They called me back and they took me into the room. We had done a sonogram, and I think that was such a big turning point for me too, seeing a little life grow inside of me. So they took me into the room and just kind of asked me the basic questions. How did you find out you were pregnant? When was your last period? All those good questions. And then the next questions they asked me were more about like how I was feeling and my emotional state, and more of counsel questions, which really shocked me because I really just thought it was going to be about my medical condition or state or whatever you call that. So that was probably the most helpful thing throughout all of this. Was I was in tears. I was like crying. I didn't know what to do. I couldn't tell anyone. I felt very alone, and I think Connor felt the same way. And so whenever I got to talk to them about more than just being pregnant, it was more like, I have options. There's things that you can do to find resources. There's people you can talk to. You don't have to like go through this alone. And so that was really, really helpful. And I remember from the time I got here to the time I left was like such a different emotional state. I was in tears, like unable to speak when I got here. And by the time I left, they had prayed for me and was just giving me hugs and reassurance. And it really, it made me feel hopeful. And I did not have that when I got here. So it was one of the best experiences.
I remember her calling when she left, and it was like a different person on the phone, which helps me, of course. I mean, it really is. I mean, it was a game changer for us. Why are you so happy? What changed inside there? The situation hasn't changed, but your outlook on anything in life changed so much and so drastically that we're super appreciative for it. When I first heard she was going to the pregnancy center, free clinic, I think stainless steel, blue medical chairs, and things like prison almost. And, complete opposite. I mean, complete opposite. I've been to lots of doctors before, and this, I can say, was probably my favorite experience I've ever had in any sort of medical history. So this is a fantastic place. If you're struggling with anything like this and you need to come have almost counseling, medical, and friendship wrapped up into one little blanket, the pregnancy center is probably gonna be your best bet.
And whenever we found out it was a girl, he was like, okay, well, she's not gonna get to leave the house for probably like 18 years.
Yeah,
or
17 in Texas, we have to move states.
And
She's gonna be a wrestler.
oh,
What else? Self-defense.
She's gonna be a cheerleader or something, like gymnastics for sure, maybe ice skating.
On the side.
No. No, she's probably gonna go to the Olympics, like, you know.
She's gonna be spoiled rotten, and yeah, that's the unfortunate truth. And I think as much as I would like to keep up, that I'm gonna try and not let her be spoiled rotten. I think I'm lying to myself.
You're gonna have a hard time.
Yeah, it's gonna be bad. Yeah.
She's gonna be.
You might have to go find somewhere else to sleep. She might take your place.
Ever since we came here, it's been smooth sailing, honestly, and I think it's helped me and Connor kind of realize what's important to us. We are so excited to meet our little girl, Palmer, and we could not be more grateful for the Pregnancy Center. We would not be meeting her without them, and we wouldn't have done it any other way.
Well, good evening. Logan and Connor were supposed to be here tonight. They were not able to be here due to the flu. So I'm going to introduce our speaker. My name is Jeff Jacobs, and my wife Laura has the privilege of working for the Pregnancy Resource Center. And she said, you know, our speaker this year is Bob Goff. Would you mind introducing him? And I'll just be honest, I was so excited. I was as excited to introduce Bob as he gets when he goes to Tom Sawyer Island at Disneyland for his office, but so fired up. But the first time I really knew who he was or heard his name, he wrote a book called Love Does. And I'm not a big reader, but my wife is, and she was reading this book. She said, I really think you'll like this book. I said, which one? And she goes, Love Does. I'm like, I don't know about that. And we happened to be driving over Christmas break one time to College Station, and we were on Interstate 45, headed to see my sister and brother-in-law and their family. And she said, do you mind if I read this out loud? And I thought, this is better than reading the book. She's going to tell me. I don't have to wait for the movie. So I said, yeah, I'll read it. And she said, okay. And she starts in, and she goes, this is Audible. And she goes, chapter 1. She goes, chapter 1, I am with you. I thought, okay, that's great. And then she starts to tell this story that Bob tells in chapter 1 about a guy named Randy. And Randy was a guy that Bob looked up to because he had a Triumph motorcycle, he had a beard, and he had a girlfriend. And then he found out later that Randy was with an organization called Young Life. And now I'm interested because my wife and I were both introduced to Jesus through the ministry of Young Life. And I said, wait a minute. I said, I know a guy named Randy through Young Life who has a beard and a Harley-Davidson motorcycle and a wife named Sandy. I said, if this girlfriend is named Sandy, I think it's the same person because he came from San Jose, California to College Station, Texas. And she goes, he was your area director? I said, yeah, I know him really well. I was at A&M for 6 years. I know him really well. And she continues to read the chapter, and I'm like, that's him. I said, that's Randy, because Bob describes Randy as somebody who didn't judge him, just loved him. And as the chapter says, I am with you during a time that in Bob's life that he needed somebody to be near him and to be with him. And I thought about the story of the account to the Emmaus Road in Luke 24. One of my favorite verses is when it says, Jesus himself drew near and began to walk with them. And I love that. That's how I wanted to teach and coach when I was in public education. That's how I wanted to do ministry, and that's how I want to live, is to draw near to people, because we're called to be imitators of Christ in Ephesians 5, and to walk with people, not judge them, but not to fix them, but to be with them. And that was reiterated in the book Love Does. And I remember finally reading it, and then I've listened to it several times on Audible with not my wife's voice, but Bob's voice. And And I remember finishing that and went, okay, this is what love does. And I thought, I'm that guy that kind of goes, well, who do I have to love? And then Bob writes a book called Everybody Always. And I'm like, oh, man. So would you help me welcome our speaker tonight, Mr. Bob Goff?
Well, thanks, brother. Oh. Well, hey, everybody. So I'm Bob. It's good to see you. Isn't this great? This is like Thanksgiving, and we don't even have to do the dishes. How cool is this? I love that you're here. There's a great verse in Romans. It's 8:19, and it says this, that the entire creation is standing up on its tiptoes just to wait to see what's unveiled. Isn't that great? Think of this, that you are dazzling heaven every time that you intervene in the most beautiful way into somebody's life. To just say, like Randy did to me, he just said, I'm with you. And it made sense that the end of the story with Randy is this. Well, after I told him I was going to drop out and drop out of high school and move to Yosemite and climb mountains. I mean, with a body like this, who wouldn't, right? And he just said, I'm with you, and he got a backpack, and he got his sleeping bag, and he threw it in the back of my Volkswagen, and he went with me, and for 3 days, I was looking for a job, and they would say, did you graduate from high school? I'm like, well, not really. And so Randy didn't talk to me like my parents did. I found a safe placement, and this is what you are creating at the Pregnancy Resource Center. You're creating a safe place to say, I'm with you. After 3 days of trying to find a job and not working, I just said, Randy, I'm just going to go back to high school. I'll just finish it out. And again, he just said, I'm with you. Think about this, Emmanuel, God with us. And I think this is it. Heaven is standing on its tiptoes, just waiting to see every time a young woman, a young man walks into the resource center. Boy, heaven is waiting to see what will happen. Now, God knows everything that has happened, is happening, is going to happen. Amen? But the angels don't. The angels only know whatever God tells them. Check out Matthew. God tells the angel, go tell Mary she's going to be a mother. Can you imagine the angels like, no way? And then God's like, Yahweh! So the angels are standing, leaning over the rails, just waiting to see what's going to happen in 2,000 more lives. To see that this is why eternity is going to take so long. Well, when we pulled into Randy's driveway, I walked in the door in front of him, and there's tissue paper on the ground, and an austerizer, and a microwave, and a couple of things. You know what I realized? On Saturday, Randy got married. On Sunday morning, I showed up on his porch. And he didn't see me as an interruption. He saw me as a kid who was about to jump the tracks. And heaven stood up on its toes just to wait to see what would happen. And Aunt Randy threw his stuff on my stuff and said, I'm with you. That is what you're making happen. Every single day. There's something beautiful that happens when we get this right. I had a brain scan recently. You know, those are very popular. And this is what it looks like. To be living in anticipation. And this is the brain scan of every angel. They're living in anticipation of what's going to happen next. And I just hope we'll continue to show up with that kind of anticipation that the God of the universe showed up in a kid, very needy as a child, so you could go save a bunch of childs. Like, is that lost on you? Like, you guys are like, you're reliving this creation story over and over again. I just want angels to just be leaning over the rails. Get this, I'm the consul general for the Republic of Uganda. Is that crazy? I'm not the U.S. diplomat to Uganda. I'm the Ugandan diplomat to the United States. I walk into embassies, they're like, where's the Ugandan guy? I'm like, I'm the Ugandan guy. It's like mind blown. And if you come to my house, the flag of Uganda flies over my house. It looks like Germany got together with a peacock, but that's it. In my house, looks like every other house on the block, but it's not. Because where the flag of Uganda flies and the consul general lives, it's Uganda. I'm the diplomatic mission of a foreign government to the United States. I'm not part of America. If you guys ever really screw up and need to seek asylum, come to my house. The WikiLeaks guy's probably having dinner right now. Let that sink in on you. And we fly under the banner of Christ. And it changes everything. Or it changes nothing. It can't just change a couple things, but what it can change is the life of an unborn kid. I think there's something, heaven leaning up on its rails just to see what will happen next. Here's out of Romans 5. It says, suffering produces endurance. Endurance turns into character. And character turns into hope. Now, when we're suffering, and each of us have in different ways, and pain is not graded on a curve. Pain is pain is pain. A young woman, a scared young boy, walking into a place with a circumstance of their own creation, but something that they have no equipment to deal with this. And they walk into a place, of suffering. And then you say that this is going to turn in to some endurance in your life. I saw that in that short video clip. Didn't you see? Like how that endurance, and then that endurance is going to turn into character. Just seeing these two young lives that have created another life to say, living in anticipation, and that is going to turn into hope. And the acid test of that is, I felt hopeful when the end of that reel happened. Didn't you feel hopeful? That's what we are to the world. What we want to do is create this. We just need to remember why we're doing what we're doing. A couple of you asked about this stupid Red Sox hat. I'm not a Red Sox fan. I've never been to a baseball game. Evidently, we have a major league team in San Diego. Who would know? But my neighbor Carol was a huge Red Sox fan. And she got cancer. We knew she was going to be in heaven by the end of the week. And so we made a deal. I said, Carol, I will wear your Red Sox hat for the rest of my life and represent the Sox here on earth. But in exchange, every time Jesus walks by you, you need to mention my name. There's a verse, I knew you not. I'm like, Carol! So, I think you guys know what you're doing and why you're doing it. And I'll tell you, it'll change everything when we do. There's something beautiful that comes of this. And God's infinite creativity that He's put into you to show up in the lives of somebody that's hurting and to say a good word. Sweet Marie and I got married 38 years, 3 months, and 5 days ago. I'm counting up. I think she's counting down. But and then we could not be more different. When we were in the labor and delivery room, Sweet Marie was saying some incredibly vile things about me because I was a participant in her circumstance. And I knew what flavor this baby was going to be, and we'd picked out the name Lindsay. And so I wrote her a note from a safe distance from Maria. I said, Dear Lindsay, I forgive you for wrecking my car. I put a date on it. I said, love, Dad. I put it in a pickle jar and I buried it out in front of the hospital. 18 years later, she wrecked my car. And instead of saying something snarky like the brakes on the left, I gave her a shovel, I gave her the map, and I told her where to dig. And she went out there digging it up. That's at least a misdemeanor. And she pulled up this jar. I would have loved to see that happen. But she pulled up this jar. She came home. She took the top off it. She read the note. And she said, Dad, you forgave me before I was even born. That's the message of the gospel of Christ. That's why heaven is standing on its tiptoes. That's why we're celebrating. We're celebrating these things that are happening in people's lives and that we get to be a part of it. Suffering produces endurance, endurance character, and character turns into hope. And we all know what it feels like when we're feeling like all these circumstances are happening to us. I was speaking somewhere in, it was Phoenix, and I thought I could just drive there. I was thinking a couple hours from San Diego. Was I wrong about that? I mean, my clothes were going out of style, and I was still driving. I probably got home at 3 or 4 in the morning, and I was just working. Now, I'm not a napper. I'm like pretty amped. Are you picking up on that? I make coffee nervous. I'm like, ah. So I was lying down on the back porch. It was one of those sunny San Diego days, and I drifted into that deep sleep, the drooler kind of sleep. And then when you sense someone is near? And I opened my eyes, and there's a woman standing over me. And she said, "I'm here to render aid." And I'm thinking, who are you? And why are you speaking in the King James? And she'd been walking down the path, and she looked over this hedge I had, and she saw me. She thought I was having a stroke. So she went through, not over, my hedge, across a lawn, up a set of stairs, across another lawn, up another set of stairs, and she was there to start giving compressions and mouth to mouth. And I thought to myself, I need a bigger hedge. You know what you guys are doing? You're knocking down all the barriers. You're knocking down the barriers of shame. You're knocking down the barriers of guilt. You're knocking down the barriers. You're saying, you are loved. There's something beautiful that happens when we start seeing ourselves and on our very worst day, with our biggest screw up, none of us want to have anybody know about. Do you know what Jesus calls us? He calls us beloved. And if you're not hearing the word beloved spoken over your biggest screw up right now, it ain't Jesus talking. And if we could get real with that in people's lives and the lives of the people around us, then that's where all the good stuff happens. You find safe places. Maria's got what's called extreme social anxiety. That's why she is not here. That's why she never goes anywhere with me. We've gone to dinner 3 times in 38 years. Isn't that crazy? She thinks having me in the room's a lot of people. I'm like, I'm like Tigger. But this idea of oneness doesn't mean sameness. And so what we did is we found a safe place for her. We live at the end of an inlet in Canada. Our nearest neighbor is about 10,000 square miles away. There is a little camp next door, and these Young Life kids show up every week to camp. Now, these kids come with all of this luggage. Now, what's a reasonable amount of luggage in terms of pounds for a 15-year-old girl to spend 5 days and 4 nights at a Young Life camp? What do you think? 50 pounds, max, right? Well, these boats would arrive to unload all the kids. They would arrive, and the camp boat broke. And so I've got a landing craft, and I'd pull up my landing craft next to their boat, and 400 kids worth of luggage would come off. Well, I was catching this stuff, and there's this girl that I think it's this one right here. Like she threw this piece of luggage. There must have been a dead guy in there because it hit me in the shoulder. It hurt so bad 16 weeks ago. And you know what I did? For 15 of those 16 weeks, I put my right hand in my pocket. I would shake hands with my left hand. I would stop picking up anything because this is where the wound was. And then what started happening is it started atrophying, right? And so what you do is you've created a safe place to say, we can take where our deepest wound is for a young woman, and we can say, you know what, this is a safe place. We can start exercising. We know that suffering produces endurance, that endurance turns into character, and character will turn into hope. We get that right, we get everything right. I mean, this is Matthew 25. I was hungry and you fed me. It's all about meeting needs. I was thirsty and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger. I was a hurting teenage kid. And I came in and you welcomed me. I was sick and you comforted me. I was naked and you clothed me. I was in jail and you came. People, that's it. Hungry people, thirsty people, sick people, strange people, naked people, and people in jail. And you can never tell if somebody's hungry, but you can always tell if they're naked. Get your head on a swivel. So this is what you're about. This is what I'm trying to be about. I don't want to just agree with Jesus, because there's not one scripture where Jesus asked anybody to agree with him. And yet we spend a lot of time agreeing that it'd be great if kids had an opportunity to live. It'd be great if whatever. And I love that you're the ones doing something about it. Keep doing that. Heaven is on its tiptoes, just waiting to see what will happen next. I teach at Pepperdine Law School. Could you imagine me as a lawyer? Wouldn't that make you want to settle the case? Like, settle! I teach at Pepperdine Law School, but that's not the only place I teach. I teach at this San Quentin. It's a gated community. I've got some pretty crazy guys that are in there. I've got Manson family members in my class. I've had 850 guys at San Quentin in my class over the last 10 years. We're coming up on Christmas, and last Christmas, I asked the warden, could I wear a Santa uniform? I used to look like Santa from the shoulders up. Now I look like him from the waist up. But I said, could I put on the red, things and the boots and all that? And he said, absolutely not. But you know what? I'm not asking for permission anymore. I just showed up in a Santa uniform. I'm like, arrest me. So I'm trying to get in anyway. So I got to the front gate. They let me in. Now I'm sitting in the yard at San Quentin, and one of the Manson family members comes and he sits in my lap. And he said, I've never sat in Santa's lap before. I said, well, I've never had a serial killer sitting in my lap before. So this is a first for both of us. And I asked them this, what do you want? Because that's what Santa always asks, right? I think that's what's being asked at PRC. Every single time, this is what you're making available. You say, what do you want? What a great thing to be in a safe place and ask those questions. You know what Bruce said? He said, I'd like a phone call on Christmas morning. And the warden kind of got on board with this thing. He set up a video cam on Christmas morning. Bruce and I had the best conversation. Then he got out of the frame. He said, hang on a second. And another prisoner sat down. And we just had a great conversation. He said, hang on a second. And another prisoner sat down. 30 guys standing in a line. Heaven was standing on its tiptoes. And there is a line of young men and women right out the door because you're making it possible. And you get to make it possible to ask this question, what do you want? And then to talk about it, and to talk about the things that are really going on. There's a guy in San Quentin that used to be a professional baseball player. Now he's pretty good at killing people, but he used to be a professional ball player, and he saw my hat. He said, will you pitch batting practice? I'm like, sure. So I got up on the mound, and I threw the first pitch, and he just knocked the cover off the ball. It was like a jailbreak. And so I threw the next pitch, and he just crushed that one as well. And then you know what he did? He started crowding the plate. Oh, that just ticked me off. So I thought, I'm going to brush him back. And so I wound up, I threw the ball as hard as I could, hit him right in the head. Oh, people, pro tip here. If you have a guy who's in for murder and is holding a metal bat, do not hit him in the head. And so we both had a decision to make. He had to decide if he was going to charge the mound, and I had to decide if I was going to run away like a 9-year-old girl, and I decided I was. But what we did instead is we had a conversation. This is what happens every single day. Because you make it possible to say, look, what do you want? And I love Texas for so many different reasons, but how many of you guys have been to Lake Jackson? I went down there not long ago. There's a place called Lake Jackson, Texas. You got to go. Leave now. Lake Jackson, the guy that started the town named every single street Way. I'm not kidding. There's a street called This Way. There's a street called That Way, only in Texas. There's a street called Anyway. The church is on His Way. And the airport's on Runway. And this is what happens. We get somebody who is hurting, and we say, what do you want? Maybe there's an opportunity to talk about Jesus and to say, I'm taking the top off this jar. I'm going to let you know God forgave you before you were born. I think there's something beautiful that happens when we get in a safe place and we find out that God's nickname for us is beloved. He doesn't see a pointy, bony finger in our direction. What he sees is love entering in. We built this lodge up in Canada, and Marie and I started inviting people who are in all kinds of different manner of disputes. People in leadership in different countries and all that. We've signed 38 peace agreements at this place. It's been a really special place. to see people in difficult circumstances come together. After 20 years, we hired 8 guys to come up for a month or two and put one last coat of stain on this place. They were there for one day. They put all their oily rags together. It spontaneously combusted, burnt to the ground. Now I'm telling you, this is what it feels like to be 15 or 16 or 17 or 23 or 42 and have an unexpected pregnancy. And it just feels like it all burnt down. And I got up there with Sweet Maria, and she was just filleted by this thing. I was sad, but this was her one place. We went to a counselor, and he said, what was the hardest part about the lodge burning down? And she said it was the only place that I felt safe. And we weren't talking about a lodge anymore. We were talking about her as a teenage girl, and somebody did something awful to her. I'd been married to that girl for 22 years. And she'd been carrying this around the whole time. And I told her, if it took our lodge burning down for you to get real with what was going on in your life, I would have lit the match myself. God will burn down whatever it takes to get to the real version of us. And I think that's the promise, that suffering produces endurance. Endurance turns into character, and character will turn into hope. I think there's something beautiful in enduring when we start realizing that over and over again, God will show up and He'll redeem stuff that seems like it's just a dumpster fire, and that He'll somehow make it so that we could warm our hands. I think you guys are making these things possible because you know why you're doing what you're doing. You know what the answer to the question is. You know what it is that draws you here, and you know what it is that's going to lead you forward. I want us to continue to do those things. Know why you're doing what you're doing, and do it in simple language. This is my Bible. It's a guy named J.B. Phillips wrote it. J.B. Phillips was a pastor in a church in London in World War II, and the only authorized version of the Bible at the time was the King James. And nobody understood all the these and thous. You know what J.B. Phillips did? He sat in a bunker as the bombs were raining down, and he wrote what's the first living Bible. It's called the New Testament in Modern English for Schools, and they put it in every single classroom of every single school because they just said it in a really plain and approachable way. And I think that's what you guys make happen every single time. Every act of unselfish love is a declaration of faith. It's saying, this is what I believe, and I believe it so much that I'm going to actually direct this. And we all get turned around a little bit. If you guys have read any of my books, you know I've sailed across the ocean a couple times, which I don't know why I do, because I get so seasick. I just hurl the whole way, all the way there, all the way back. But on one of these races, they made me the navigator of the boat. And I didn't know the pointy end from the blood end. So I went to the store. I got a map. I'm like, I need a map. They're like, it's a chart. I'm like, whatever. And so I got this chart, and this race was from Long Beach to Diamond Head. And I put a ruler on the map, and I drew a line. Make sense? Right? And then there's a compass rose in the upper right-hand corner, and I figured out what the bearing was, and we steered this for the first 1,700 miles of a 2,500-mile race. You guys, did you know there's a difference between true and magnetic north? There is. And from here to the parking lot, well, you know, in Texas, it's a pretty long way, but from here to a parking lot, it's like a quarter of an inch. But from here to Hawaii, you miss the entire island chain. Now, before you make fun of me, I've been carrying this compass around with me ever since this trip. And I know where north is. And in the count of 3, I want you to point to where north is. No looking at your neighbor. 1, 2, 3, go. That's Mexico. Yeah, that's up the chimney. Yeah, another Mexico. You guys, north is right there. And here's the tip. This is what happens. This is what you make happen every single day. I'm going to give you this compass. I want you to hang on to this for your team. What you do is you let people know what's true versus what's magnetic. The culture is going to say what's magnetic. Let's just make things go away. What you're going to say, what is true, is this beautiful sanctity of life. Does that make sense? You guys get to reorient people each day to things that matter more. And there's something that goes on every time you do. And I want you to picture heaven getting up on its tiptoes, just waiting to see what will happen with that young life. I'm going to land the plane with this. In Canada, we get together every year for our anniversary. And I've got an old Beaver seaplane, and I take us up to a lake, and we have a soda pop, and I fly back, and we tie it to the dock. And we tied it up, and Marie got out of the plane, and she left a note behind. It said, "Meet me at the cabin." I'm like, yes. So I'm running to the cabin. I'm like, this is going to be awesome. And when I got to the cabin, she'd saved her wedding dress. For 32 years, she'd saved this dress, and she still fit it. And we duct taped me into a tuxedo because I'm more Santa now. And we renewed our vows. And you know, I'm emotionally incontinent. I cried everything, which is really a problem if you're a trial lawyer. But all I could get out is this, and it's from Song of Songs. Not that verse. That's an awesome verse. There's another verse. And it says, "My beloved, you are mine, and I am yours." And I think we don't need big flowery prayers. Maybe that's our prayer together for every young woman, every young man, every concerned family, that they would realize that they're part of this safe community of people, that we are theirs, that they are ours. And when we realize that, we know we can just see heaven rising up. I said the thing we have in British Columbia that you don't have here is otters. They're everywhere. They're like Priuses in San Diego. And the thing about otters is this: they all hold hands. We should be playing Sarah McLachlan music right now. But you know why they hold hands? They don't want anyone to drift away. That's what you do. Every single day you hold on to somebody's hand and you say, "I'm with you." And heaven rises up on its toes just to see what's going to happen next. I'm going to give you one last illustration as we wrap it up. Not far from where I live is a place called Echo Park. And the people at Echo Park wanted to demonstrate this whole idea of what it's like to be a community of people running with people who were up against something big. Can you play that? Turn up the sound a little bit. Come on. You can just go up a little bit. Up a little bit. Here comes the runner.
Could I run with you? Yeah, is that okay? Yeah. Hey, could I run with you? Yeah. Can I just join your jog? Sure. I'm just not done, but I'll go with you at the end. Okay, I'm Asia. Morgan. Nice to meet you, Morgan. Morgan.
They're coming towards you, Stacey one.
You cut it off before the commercial. Oh, did you get that? I was just about to quit. And that's exactly what that young woman, that young man walking through the door is thinking. And then they meet you. I want you to rise to your feet. Now, if you're able, if you're not wearing high heels, maybe even if you are, I want you to rise up on your tiptoes. Come on. And this is what heaven is thinking about right now when they think about you. Now, if you can grab a hand, you can go back off your tiptoes. You grab a hand or a shoulder or whatever's not creepy, you'll know. Let me just pray for us. I'm going to leave my eyes open because we get to spend eternity together. I want to remember what you look like. Jesus, you know this family of friends here. You know the love we have for kids. You know the love we have for one another in the community. Give us the guts and the grit to keep up, knowing that you and heaven are standing in anticipation of what will be unfolded next in your sons and daughters. In your strong name, amen. Thanks, you guys.
Thank you so much, Bob. And thank you so much for the visual of the otters. I want to take y'all back to 2003. First of all, I want to say that that is exactly what the pregnancy center was for Logan when she came in. You heard it, y'all. We walked with her, we met her where she was, and we were with her. When I started at the pregnancy center, my least favorite word, that's the F word for me. When I started at the pregnancy center, I was a volunteer. And I will never forget a night. I worked Monday nights. I came on staff in 2004, but I volunteered for 3 years prior to that. I'll never forget a night in 2003 when we got the call that the headmistress of Poetry Christian School was bringing a 15-year-old student to us named Gabby. I loved in the video that they were chanting, "Gabby, Gabby," and I would love to chant that right now, but she'd probably die. Gabby is our director of social media. She's a former client that chose life at the Pregnancy Resource Center, and I couldn't think of anyone better to come and talk with you tonight about our pledge cards. We have another cool story to share with you that she's going to share, I think, but I'm right here with you, girl. I'm your otter. Y'all give a good, warm welcome to Gabby.
I love that he said that because I was thinking the whole time, oh my gosh, I am so nervous. Joanne is my otter. I need you to stand right here because public speaking is not my thing. Okay, so I am just here to go over pledge cards with you, and I'm nervous, but the theme is better together, so we're going to go through this together. Y'all are all my otters tonight. So on your table, there is a white envelope. If somebody from your table just wants to pass out or take one and pass it around. You just want to go through that. You can make a pledge tonight. There's little tick boxes. There's pins in each of your envelopes, but there's tick boxes for you to go through. You can make a pledge tonight. You can make a gift in 90 days. You can sponsor a client.
Talk about that a little bit. Sponsoring a client, what that looks like.
Okay. Yes. So, yeah, go for it.
If you choose to sponsor a client monthly, that amount comes from the fact that our educational classes, every girl that comes to a class every week earns an amount of points, and those points translate into a dollar amount. So when you sponsor a client monthly, $40 a month, we'll send you every month a picture of a girl that's benefiting from the program. So I just want to talk about that. I also want to talk about something else that Gabby was going to share about Logan. y'all, we're running a little bit early. We're on schedule, so I'm going to share with y'all just a quick little story. When I came on staff in 2004, I got a letter in the mail, and it was a check. It was a pretty significant amount, and it was from Ann Rory, and she said, "Thank you so much for being there when my granddaughter came into your clinic. Because the pregnancy center was there, I now have a great-granddaughter, Peyton, who is Gabby's little girl, who is now how old, 20?
Almost 21.
Almost 21 years old, Peyton." And so Ann shared that story with me. And I got to be friends with her. You know, I would send her a little thank you note, and she recognized my name, and she called one day, and she said, "Are you Czech?" And I'm like, "No, but my husband's kind of Czech. He speaks Czech." And so she said, "You know, we go to these dances. They're Czech fests, you know, dances in Dallas if you want to come." So we went, and I became friends with Poppy, who I became, as Julie, you know, Poppy, Gabby's Poppy. And I love this man, y'all. And when before he passed away, I got to visit with him a couple of times and talk old Mesquite. He's old Mesquite. And so we talked old stories about Mesquite. I went to Tysinger Elementary, and I asked him one time, "Did you know Ben F. Tysinger?" He's like, "Absolutely, I did." I mean, her grandfather was amazing, y'all. Her grandfather was amazing. Fun fact, Logan, our client testimony, her grandfather was Poppy's best friend. Another Poppy, Olin Davis was his name, and he passed away this past year. But anyway, so it's just very cool to see the Mesquite community, the roots there, and just the fact that we have an office in Mesquite. The Rockwell community, both granddaughters came to Rockwell, and so I just wanted to share that. I know it doesn't fit real well into our script tonight, but I just wanted to share that with y'all because it's just super cool. So that's all. Take it away, Gabby. She's got this, y'all.
Okay. Okay. Thanks for sharing that. It was, yeah. Okay, so there's also a QR code on the back if that's easier for you to make your donation that way. It's pretty straightforward, so just give y'all a minute to go through that. But
Y'all give it up for Gabby. Give it up for Gabby. You did great. You did great. There's also something on the back if you would like to volunteer in any way. We're primarily staffed by volunteers, and so if you'd have any interest in volunteering at either location, just check that box.
Yep.
And thank you, Bob, for this compass. I'm going to treasure it always. And our ride from the hotel here was priceless. Y'all, this man cares about every detail. We talked about just some deep things, so thank you, sir. Thank you for that. Thank you. And now comes one of my most favorite parts of the night. But before I do that, I just want to, Gabby was just up here, but I'd like to take a second to recognize the entire staff. So if you're one of the Pregnancy Center staff, please stand up. And we are governed by a board of directors. I would like our board of directors to stand. Please stand if you serve on our board of directors. And our volunteers, if you're here tonight and you volunteer in any way at all, please stand. Y'all, we could not do it without you. Thank you so very much for being here tonight. It means everything. It means everything. Every year we have the privilege, y'all, and just, this is kind of scary when I share this, but when I found this out, in order to do what we do, we're a medical clinic. And to do anything we do, whether it's a pregnancy test, an ultrasound, we have to operate under a doctor's orders. We couldn't do any of this without a doctor standing up and saying, "Yes, I want to be a part of the Pregnancy Resource Center, and I'm going to allow you to operate as if you were one of my own clinics." Dr. Greg Munns, who's here with us tonight, and it's become a tradition that every year he closes us in prayer. This man is such an advocate for life. Every Wednesday, he meets with a group and he prays that abortion would end in Texas. And I couldn't believe it the year that Roe versus Wade was overturned, that we got to celebrate that year that his prayer was answered. Amen to that. I would like to take a second to introduce you to Dr. Greg Munns. And I would like to share with you guys that it is his birthday tonight. And I think we're running ahead of schedule. So if you guys would join me, I'm not going to sing in the microphone. You do not want me to do that. But we're going to sing happy birthday to Dr. Greg Munns on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3.
Thank you. I was praying this afternoon about what I was going to pray about, and it was to make sure it wasn't about me. Let's pray. Gracious God, Creator King, we give you praise. You are so awesome, and we just love you. And we are so thankful that we are loved by you. And so, God, we just want to tell you that we want to help to save children in our community. We know you're doing the work, but God, we want to put our shoulders to the wheel and help in this, God. And so we just thank you for the Pregnancy Resource Center and the things you've done through it. And we ask you stimulate hearts today to give money to this effort, God, to bless more and more people. God, I thank you for forgiving us before we were born. That's such a refreshing thought, God, and I just thank you for it because I know it's true. God, would you be with women today who are pregnant and are thinking about abortion? Would your Spirit fall on them today, God, and enable them to come to places like pregnancy resource centers all over this area, all over Texas. God, and I especially have had a heart to pray tonight for Christians who somehow have gotten trapped in the thought that this abortion thing is really okay and we should make it as available as we can to whoever wants to have it. And God, would your Spirit fall on them and convict them in a new way that that's not your will, that you want life to happen. So God, would you take us from here? Would you bless all these people for all their contributions, for all their sacrifices? Would you bless the staff at Pregnancy Resource Center? And God, we give you praise and glory for everything. In the name of Jesus, amen. Bless you.
Thank you again for being here, y'all. We'll see you next year or sooner. Thank you.